The Majority Leader, Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, says he criticizes the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Badmin, to ensure that the Speaker exhibits neutrality when presiding over proceedings. The Swami MP cited instances where the Speaker has been biased in his handling of issues in the chamber, but the Minority Chief Whip disagrees with him. In the part 2 of Joy News' Hotline documentary titled Ghana's Hung Parliament, A Blessing or a Curse, we put a spotlight on the conduct of the Speaker in the 8th Parliament. Here's an excerpt of that documentary, which will be aired at 8:30 p.m.
The Asawasi MP, who is the longest serving MP in the current leadership of the minority, claims a meeting was scheduled to interrogate the attacks on the Speaker. In the said meeting, the Majority Leader was admonished to shun away from attacking the Speaker publicly. Although Chairman Mensah-Bonsu had agreed to the proposition, he breached the agreement shortly after the meeting.
And this one, I mean, I'm sure also could be now. And I said, Majority Leader, you are not helping. Because it looks like you are still leading only your side. It's only the minority leader that leads only his side. The majority that doesn't lead his side alone. He leads both sides. You are not doing that. And because I'm noticing that there's some ego running between you and the Speaker. And in my view, both of you needs to pause. So we talked, and the bottom line that I insisted that we, the leaders, the 12 of us, should go and meet the Speaker. We agree. I need some kind of gentleman. Majority Leader, speaking against the Speaker in public is not helpful. Because he doesn't have the same opportunity. The Speaker cannot call for a press conference. It's not done. So even when you disagree with him, we beg you, use another person. Let another person within your caucus do it. As for you, when we meet in the room, then you point it. I swear to God that very evening, Majority Leader was speaking to the press against the Speaker.
He says he criticizes you.
That's very evident. But Speaker cannot respond to you in the public. So now you see the certain, to the extent that for the first time in my life in Parliament, almost 2 decades, minutes of parliamentary service meetings and other things are leaked in the press as a way of Speaker trying to defend himself. That's terrible. But who calls out? Because these are confidential things that even minutes have to be leaked in a way to defend the Speaker.
It is the Speaker and not a Speaker. The Speaker, so you come to 102, which provides.
But the Majority Leader argues that the Speaker has, in some instances, displayed blatant bias. He, however, added that, as one of the senior members of the House, accustomed to the rules and procedures, including having a better appreciation of the standing orders, he indulged in the criticisms of the Speaker to ensure Mr. Babin toes the line of balance.
I disagree with him on some of the things that he has done recently or has been doing, but it doesn't mean that we are enemies. There are things that I would consider that is not being fair, right? But to say that it's been partisan, I don't want to go into that. And occasionally, I will tell him my disagreement. Even when we go into pre-sitting meetings, he will make a point, and I will tell him, Mr. Speaker, I disagree with you on this. But maybe what you are saying, as far as this matter is concerned, I don't think is the truth. That's how we relate to each other. As far as I'm concerned, I criticize reform. If you take it fair and fine. The Speaker may also disagree with me on maybe something that I would say or perhaps I may not do, that he would think that I ought to have done something that I didn't do. He may disagree with me and point it out to me. Is he an enemy? No.
Professor Jampo maintains that the current crop of leadership lacks what it takes to lead a hung parliament and asks the party to reshuffle the majority leadership.
Well, we're going to have this from now up to 2024. Sure. And either the current leadership change, but of course, a leopard has its skin. Even if it falls into water, it can change. Okay, so let them appreciate. They are honorable members of parliament, and you have a situation at hand. How to deal with that situation in a manner that will ensure that government business will not unnecessarily be frustrated is what we're talking about.
So you think that the political parties then we should begin to consider a overhaul?
If they are now,
the leadership.
Well, if they've not thought about this, then I'm telling them.
How soon should it be?
If they've not thought about it and they want to maintain the same kind of leaders leading them in these processes, it will be up to them. So, but I think that you need a certain caliber of leadership whose language would be so conciliatory to the point that you may not have to bring people outside parliament to intervene.
But in a sharp response, the majority leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, asked Professor Jampo not to stick his nose to where it doesn't belong.
Is he with us?
He's a
died in the wool NDC. Everybody knows that. Is he the person qualified to tell us which players you felt in our team? Is he the person to tell us? Now, let's be realistic about this. He's not the person to tell us the players that we should field in our team. He should keep his advice to himself, with respect to him. Because everybody hears him, his pronouncements. Have you heard Jampo ever condemn NDC? He's a political scientist. But let's get it clear.
Let's go to the phone lines now. Professor Ransford Jampo joins us. Prof, thank you for joining us here on Join His Prime. You had the majority leader there say that you're sticking your nose where it does not belong, and essentially saying that it is not in your place to advise them because you are explicitly NDC.
Well, thank you very much. I have heard this, and initially I was angered by the comment from Osei Mensah Bonsu. But upon a super reflection, I think I'll have to tone down and give him a very simple response. I think Mensah Bonsu is suffering from a deliberate political dementia. And so deliberately he has forgotten the role we played. And John Mahama and the NDC was in power. I'm only seeking to tell him that he occupied a certain position when his party had majority number of parliament seats. And that kind of leadership, the position he occupied, is no longer relevant in a hung parliament. In a hung parliament, you need people who are conciliatory and they have what it takes to be able to bring about consensus. That's all I thought to say. And if you listen to your own if you watch and listen to your own documentary, in that documentary, I also took issues criticizing the NDC that they don't have to overly do things in a manner that would also create a certain intransigence and stall governance. Because somebody has won political power and must govern at all costs. It's in your documentary, so play it.
Absolutely.
And so for Mensah to hear this and to say that I am a die-in-the-wool NDC man, I think simply portrays him as somebody who is suffering from political dementia. Because everybody who is politically astute and politically switched on in Ghana knows that I've spoken my mind. I am a political scientist. I do not subject parties in opposition to strict proof. We are trained to subject parties in government to strict scrutiny and proof. And so when John Mahama was in power, we subjected him to criticism and to rigorous analysis, and we dissected everything that he did. And around that time, Mensah and his court liked what we did against John Mahama. Suddenly, John Mahama is not in power. It's another regime that is in power. We are subjecting that same regime to thorough discussions and strict proof, and all of a sudden, he is telling me that I am a die-in-the-wool NDC. Well, I leave his description to the good judgment of the people of Ghana. I mean, you guys.
But Prof, you can help us on this. You can help us on this to answer his question or to respond to his claim in a very unambiguous term. Are you NDC or not?
Please. This is a question that I find unintelligent to come from you. It's an unintelligent question.
How so?
Because you have known me, I've been in this game from November 14, 2004, when I joined the Institute of Economic Affairs as a governance fellow researcher and also as the coordinator of the Ghana Political Parties Program. And I've worked with all the political parties since then, up to 2016 when that program collapsed. And so if you ask me that question, then you are not being intelligent.
Professor Ramfo, your record is not in doubt. Your record is not in doubt. There's a claim from the majority leader. The majority leader is saying that you are NDC without a doubt. And I was hoping that you respond to the question directly to say, I am not NDC. What you have told us in the documentary has been played. The full documentary part 2 will be played at 8:30 p.m. But if you could just respond in a very unambiguous term, I guess that would just settle the issue. Because it's come up a number of times.
Listen, I cannot be NDC and I can't be MPP too.
Very well. Very well. Thank you very much.
Listen, I've stayed a focus. I've told a certain line, just playing my role as a political scientist and ensuring that whoever gets elected is subjected to some kind of strict proof with the dogmas of the issues that I've interrogated, the issues that I've researched on, as a political scientist. And so if doing so, it doesn't go well with anybody and the person would want to deliberately tag me, I leave that to the conscience and the good judgment of the people of Ghana. But I tell you that if a minister of all people tells me this, then he's suffering from a deliberate political dementia.
Thank you very much. That's Professor Ansel Jampo, a political scientist. He's been speaking to us on our latest Hotline documentary. The full part 2, will air at 8:30 p.m. We definitely want to make a time for that after this bulletin.